You have to watch 13 Reasons Why. What do you think about 13 Reasons Why? Have you watched 13 Reasons Why? My perspective from the show, being someone who's had depression for a long time. So here it is, 13 Reasons Why. I had no idea what the show was, but I watched the trailer.
Settle in, because I'm about to tell you the story of my life. More specifically, why my life ended. And if you're listening to this tape, you're one of the reasons why.
If I can be 100% honest, I was terrified to watch it. That's hard for me to admit. I sensed that there would be a ton of depression triggers and it would throw me back down this hole. But people kept asking, and I have this channel on mental health, so I watched it. My predictions were right. It was tough. Hannah Baker is the main character in the show, and she talks a lot about feeling empty. How she feels like she's making everyone else's life worse and she would be better off not here at all. How she would be better off gone. How she doesn't see any other options. Now here's the danger of this show.
This morning, backlash over the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why. Some saying the show may be doing more harm than good.
I've been hospitalized for depression twice. Once as a kid and once as an adult. I've seen countless doctors, counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, and leading professionals in the mental health world since 2nd grade.
Everyone is just so nice until they drive you to kill yourself. And sooner or later, the truth will come out.
Now I'm a huge advocate of mental health. I talk to professionals on the leading edge of the research currently coming out today.
Suicide, the second leading cause of death among those ages 15 to 34.
And I've developed these protective mechanisms through all of these scenarios. I've learned how to put these things in place to help protect me from my own mind. Even with all these mechanisms, the tool was still a huge trigger.
Now, some suicide prevention groups saying the show glamorizes suicide.
Yesterday, it put me into a funk for a few hours. Now, I have 25 years of practice. I have 25 years of education and people trying to help me work with this. Most people don't have the slightest clue about mental health or suicide prevention or what the signs and symptoms are. Now, I wasn't the only one to get these triggers from watching the show. Many young teens with depression and other people just with depression in general were thrown back into it or into it without realizing what was going on. And the show got a ton of slack for this. And the show didn't provide a resource for people to get help. Luckily, they realized this and now they have a really great resource for people. So that's kind of like the negative side of the show. But the show is extremely important.
But show producers say they actually hope the series can help those who may be struggling.
Experts are saying parents should not only watch it, it's probably best to watch it with your child.
They don't sugarcoat depression, suicide, or bullying.
She lied about it on those tapes because she's a crazy drama queen who just killed herself for attention.
And it's extremely accurate in what's going on in the mind of a depressed person and how fast that slide into depression can happen. When I was in high school, they had mental health awareness chapter in our health class, and they talked about what to do for somebody with depression. And it's coming from a person who's probably never had depression, who's trying to tell you how to deal with depression, and they don't have the slightest perspective of what to do. They're just reading everything out of a textbook. I remember the teacher reading out of this book saying, never judge somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes. If I could get somebody to walk a mile in a depressed person's shoes, that would make me more depressed. Why would I want somebody to feel what I am feeling? And then it almost felt like people are getting farther away from figuring out what's going on and threw me into a worse depression. But this show is the closest thing I've ever seen to being able to walk in a depressed person's shoes and seeing how it can happen, how their perspective is, and how fast the shift can happen.
She says the book version is a great learning tool for kids, but the series, which is rated TVMA, can be hard to digest.
Let's think of it like this. The show is just a tool. Here's how I think this tool can be used. I don't know if it's healthy to watch the show if you've had depression. That's just coming from me. People with depression already know what depression's like. This show, there's a lot of other forms of entertainment, but I think there's a risk. There's a risk of getting thrown back into it. I wouldn't take that risk, and I almost didn't want to take this risk. I'm happy I watched it now so I can talk about this and help educate. But if you do decide to watch it, I think you should be within a good support system, have tools in place for if that slide and those triggers start happening, so you can help yourself climb out of it. Think of it, here's a good analogy. Let's say you're afraid of spiders and you just overcame your fear of spiders. It's probably not a good idea to watch a horror movie about a million spiders attacking a guy and eating their flesh, right? Why feed that fear of spiders? But if you don't understand depression and you want to, this is a great show for that. This is that show I wish like my teacher watched before she was teaching us about mental health so she could wrap her head around how this works versus just reading things out of a book. It's a great tool.
We wanted to do it in a way where it was honest, and we wanted to make something that it can hopefully help people, because suicide should never ever be an option.
So here's my final thoughts. The show is great. It's bringing awareness to mental health, depression, suicide, teen suicide, and bullying. And it's getting people to talk about it, which is helping to defeat that stigma. But I get emails every day from people all over the world, a lot of kids who have depression or some other kind of mental health disorder, and I worry about them. I worry about the triggers. So what are your thoughts? I'd like to hear what you guys think. Have you seen the show? What did you think? How did it make you feel? Do you have a mental health disorder or not? If you don't feel comfortable putting it in the comments below, you can always shoot me a message. I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I just felt like this kind of a perspective was important. Remember, there are always options, even if you can't find them. If you can't find them, let me be that option for you. Contact me, get a hold of me, and I will help you any way that I can, and we can get through this together. Life is meant to be experienced, and curiosity will get you there. See you next week.